Welcome to Her Subconscious Blueprint, your no BS space for subconscious healing, bold breakthroughs, and manifestations. I'm Jen Boyd, hypnotherapist, mindset coach, and your new healing hype girl. Today's episode is a deep one. We're talking about unmet childhood needs, what they are, how they silently shape so much of our adult behavior, and most importantly, how to start healing them. If you've ever wondered why certain patterns keep repeating, why you feel anxious in relationships, overly independent, constantly overwhelmed, or just deeply unseen, then this episode is for you. As children, we come into the world wired for connection. We arrive with needs, not wants, that are vital to our emotional and psychological development. These are like emotional oxygen. You can survive without them being met, but you can't thrive. There are 4 foundational needs that every child requires: to feel loved, to feel safe, to feel valid, and to feel significant. Let me say that again, because this is the heart of the episode. Loved, safe, valid, and significant. When those needs are met constantly, a child grows up feeling secure in who they are. But when they're unmet, and let's be real, most of us didn't get all 4, that child doesn't think, oh, my environment is unstable. They think something must be wrong with me. Children don't blame their parents, they internalize. They make themselves the problem, and those beliefs, they don't stay in childhood. They get woven into our subconscious blueprint, and we hang on to them for decades. They become the lens through which we see ourselves, other people, and the world. And here's where it gets wild. There's a quote that says, "We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are." Think about that for a second. You're not walking through life seeing reality. You're seeing a reflection of your internal world projecting onto everything around it. If your unmet need was love, you might see rejection even in kindness, because love has always felt like a disappearing act. If your unmet need was safety, you might see threat in stability, because calm feels unfamiliar, and unfamiliar equals danger. If your unmet need was validation, you might interpret neutral feedback as a personal attack, because your worth was always conditional. You start seeing people through the filter of your wounds, not their behavior. You start interpreting experiences through the lens of your unmet needs, not what's actually happening. Your boss isn't ignoring you, but your inner child might say, "See, I don't matter." Your partner isn't pulling away, but your subconscious says, "Here we go again, I'm being abandoned." And unless you pause to question the lens, you live in a distorted world where your past keeps playing out in your present. Not because it's still happening, but because it's still unhealed. And this will keep you stuck in a loop of old patterns. That quote, "We see things not as they are, but as we are," is more than just a quote. It's neuroscience. It's your brain filtering reality through old emotional blueprints. And if you never update the blueprint, your life starts to reflect a story that's not even yours anymore. But once you become aware of the lens, once you realize you're seeing through a filter that was shaped in childhood, you can start to shift it. You can say, wait, this feeling isn't truth. It's a wound, and I get to choose differently now. that is when everything begins to change. You might not even realize how these unmet needs are driving you. Maybe you've always prided yourself on being independent, but deep down, that independence was born from disappointment. You stopped asking for help because help never came. Or maybe you're the overachiever who's built a life full of wins, accolades, and milestones, but you still wake up with that gnawing sense that you haven't done enough, that you aren't enough. So you keep doing more and more and more until burnout. Or maybe your romantic relationship feels like landmines, like you're always bracing for the moment it all crumbles. You crave closeness, but the moment someone gets too close, you push them away. These aren't personality quirks. These are protective patterns. They're your subconscious doing exactly what it was taught to do. It's doing its job, and its job is to avoid pain, avoid rejection, avoid being that powerless little kid again. And these patterns and behaviors keep you safe when you were little. But as adults, they keep you stuck. They become our limiting beliefs holding us back. What protected you then is now limiting you. And that's why awareness, consciousness, and compassionate awareness is the beginning of your freedom. So let's dive deeper into each need. Let's start with the need to feel loved. Love is the most basic need we all share. Not the I love you kind. That's conditional or performative. I'm talking about the felt sense of being loved simply just for existing. When a child doesn't feel loved, maybe because a parent was emotionally unavailable or only showed love when certain conditions were met, the child learns, well, I have to earn love. I have to perform for love. If I mess up, love goes away. That child grows into an adult who might overgive, people please, settle in relationships, or stay in toxic cycles, not because they don't know better, but because their subconscious says, this is what love feels like. Anything else feels unsafe. So even when real love shows up, they might sabotage it, push it away, question it, because deep down, love never felt unconditional. It felt earned. Next is to feel safe. Emotional safety is huge and so often overlooked. We think, well, I wasn't hit. I had food and a roof over my head, so I was safe, right? But emotional safety is different. It's about predictability. It's about knowing you won't be shamed, yelled at, ignored, or abandoned for expressing who you are. If a child grew up in a home where emotions were met with punishment or neglect, where one day mom or dad is warm and the next day they're cold, they internalize that message. It's not safe to express myself. They become the adult who is hypervigilant, who scans for danger, who can't relax even in calm situations. They're always bracing for the one shoe to drop. This is the adult who might say, I don't know why I can't let my guard down, or everything's going great, but I keep waiting for something to go wrong. That's not just anxiety, that's a nervous system that never learned how to feel safe. Then there's the need to feel validated and soothed. This one is subtle but powerful. When a child is upset, scared, angry, sad, and no one comes to comfort them, they learn that my emotions are too much. No one cares how I feel. It's safer to shut down than to be vulnerable. So what do? They disconnect from their emotions. They learn to self-regulate, not through care, but through control. That child becomes the adult who doesn't cry, who shrinks their emotional world, who pushes through pain, who numbs out with food or alcohol or work or perfectionism. Or they become hyper independent, not because they want to do everything alone, because they learn that needing comfort leads to disappointment. This unmet need can be led to adults who struggle with intimacy, who overfunction, or who feel ashamed for needing help. And finally, the need to feel significant. Every child wants to know that they matter, that their voice, their presence, and their existence are important. When that doesn't happen, they learn, I only matter when I achieve. If I'm not the best, I'm invisible. I have to earn my worth. And that child becomes the adult who ties their value to productivity. They become the high achiever who never feels good enough, the one who's always working, proving, striving, but rarely rests or receives. They might hear compliments and immediately dismiss them. They can't accept love unless they've earned it, because their significance was never innate. It was transactional. So, what happens when these needs go unmet? You build your life around the absence. Most people do one of two things. They either abandon their needs completely, they bury them so deep that they don't even know what they are anymore, or they hand them over to someone else, hoping to finally be filled. This is how we get stuck in codependency, in burnout, in never feeling whole, because no amount of external love, validation, or praise can fill the holes left by unmet needs. You can't outsource what you never learned to give yourself. We're all walking around with invisible contracts from our childhood, agreements that we never signed, but we live by anyways. Like, if I stay small, I'll stay safe. Or if I never need anyone, I'll never be disappointed. Or if I can just be perfect, they'll finally see me. And the wild part, these contracts feel like truth. You don't even realize you're following them, but you are, in your relationships, in your career, in your parenting, even in your self-talk. That's why this work isn't just about changing your thoughts. It's about changing the emotional blueprint underneath them. Because the patterns that were wired in survival mode, they won't help you thrive. Thriving requires a new belief. Like, I get to have my needs met, not just by others, but by me. That's where your power lives, in reclaiming the ability to meet the needs no one else met for you. Now, let's talk about the beliefs that grew in the dark corners of the unmet needs category. These are three big ones that I see most often. One is, it's just not available to me. It's the belief that things like love and safety or success are for other people and not for you. Second belief is, I'm different, which sounds like everyone else fits in, but I don't. And that feeling of being different gets interpreted as danger. And third, I'm not enough. That one is the core wound. It shows up in how you date, how you work, how you talk to yourself. It's sneaky, but it's also loud. And it's often the root of your deepest self-doubt. But here's the good news. These beliefs were learned, and anything learned can be unlearned. You're not stuck. Your brain, your subconscious, it's neuroplastic, which means with the right repetition, the right emotion and language, you can rewrite it. You can teach yourself a new emotional truth. You can meet the needs you didn't even know you had. One of my favorite tools that I teach and talk about and use in my own healing is what I call subconscious scripting. It's a technique where you speak to your inner child using affirmations, direct and emotionally charged language. Here's the key. Your subconscious mind doesn't care what's true. It cares what's repeated. So when you say something often enough with enough emotion, your brain starts wiring around that. So instead of saying, I'm not lovable, we start telling ourselves that I'm deeply loved simply because I exist. Instead of, I have to be perfect to matter, we change the script and we say, I matter just as I am. And instead of, it's not safe to be me, we affirm that with, I am safe to be seen. It's safe to be real. You can do this in the mirror. You can record it and listen to it daily. You can write it over and over again in a journal. But what matters most is consistency, emotional engagement, and repetition. You're not just saying new words, you're teaching your nervous system a new baseline, one of safety, of love, of worth. You can also use hypnosis as well. And I have a library full of self-guided hypnosis that I'll link in the show notes. But another tool is visualization. And I don't mean just daydreaming. I mean guiding your mind to revisit those early moments. Not to relive them, but to rewrite them. Picture your younger self in a moment where they felt scared, unseen, unloved. Now visualize your current self walking in and saying exactly what they needed to hear. Hold them, soothe them. Let them know they're not alone anymore. This is how we begin to meet unmet needs, by becoming the parent we always needed to ourselves. This is actually a technique that I use in RTT. It's called upgrading the child. And you become the loving parent to yourself, the one you never had but needed. And I want to say this. This doesn't mean you are broken or something is wrong with you. You're not needy. You're not too much. You're just someone who needs more support than you got. That's it. And the healing doesn't come from blaming your past. It comes from choosing your present. So what can you do today to start change and rewriting the patterns? Well, first, start by asking, what did I need that I didn't get? And don't judge the answer. Let it be raw, real, honest. Then ask, how can I give myself a small taste of that today? It doesn't have to be big and grand. Sometimes healing looks like resting when your old self would push through it. Sometimes it's speaking gently when your inner critic gets loud. Sometimes it's saying no and honoring that boundary even when it's hard or uncomfortable. And here's an even deeper exercise you can do. Write a letter to your younger self. Sit with a photo of you as a child if you have one. Look into her eyes. What does she need to hear? What does she need to feel? Write her a letter that begins with this. I'm sorry you didn't get what you needed, but I'm here now. And then every day this week, do one small thing that she would have loved. Maybe it's lying in the grass and daydreaming. Maybe it's a day with no agenda. Maybe it's telling her, you're safe, I've got you. One of the most powerful rituals I guide people through is this. Place one hand on your heart and the other on your belly. And you will then close your eyes and breathe in deeply and tell her that you are safe now. You are loved and you are seen. You are worthy. and I will never abandon you again. This is simple but powerful because your body hears you, your subconscious listens, and healing happens not in the grand gestures, but in the tiny, consistent moments where you show up for yourself differently. Your subconscious doesn't care about logic. It cares about repetition, emotion, and identity. In a battle between logic and emotions wins every time. That's why telling yourself I'm worthy once doesn't change your life, but telling yourself daily with conviction, with feeling, does. When you were a child, your mind was in theta brainwave state most of the time, which is highly suggestible, absorbing beliefs like a sponge. That's how the blueprint got wired in. So now as an adult, you re-enter the state intentionally through meditation, hypnosis, or daily repetition to plant a new belief. And here's the part that most people miss. The subconscious doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you expect. So when you say things like, guess I'll never be enough, your brain logs that as instructions, as truth, and will look for ways to prove that. But when you say, I'm more than enough and I expect to be treated that way, your brain rewires towards the new expectation. You are the narrator now. You get to choose the script. You are the author and you get to write the story starting today. And here's the final thing that I'll leave you with today. You are allowed to grieve what you didn't get. That grief is sacred. And in doing so, it doesn't mean that you're stuck. It means that you're healing. And when you let yourself feel it until it no longer needs to be felt, you create space for joy, for peace, for love, for the new beliefs, for a new blueprint that you get to create. This is the real generational work. When you meet your own unmet needs, you become someone who doesn't pass down the pain, but passes down peace. You become the cycle breaker. You become the parent to yourself, to your children, to your inner world that you always needed. You're no longer driven by lack. You're led by love. And maybe for the first time in your life, you get to say, I am safe now. I don't have to fight to be seen. I don't have to perform to be loved. I just get to be me. And that is more than enough. If this episode brought you a moment of clarity, comfort, or just the reminder that you didn't know you needed, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love, or tag me on Instagram. You can find me at Her Subconscious Blueprint. And let's turn this personal healing into collective empowerment. And if you're ready to start rewiring those deep-rooted beliefs, check out my self-guided hypnosis. This is a powerful first step towards finally feeling and being enough, because you are. I am so full of love and gratitude that I get to share my story with you. This is Her Subconscious Blueprint, where we don't just chase the dreams, we become them. And remember, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. So go out and be that version of her today. Much love and gratitude. I will see you next time.